Ravi. I'm the head of the quality engineering at Adapting. Before we jump into the main topic, I would like to take you through a little bit of snippet of what we do, who we are. We've been in industry from the last 14 years. Our core offerings are into the testing. So we founded as a testing organization, but we have now created a new footprint, and the kind of like offerings now got into the cloud intelligence with AWS, which are closely partners with the AWS. We are Microsoft technology stack partner as well, and we have AI-powered digital engineering services as well. Having said that, we are very strongly growing, especially in federal, state governments, and even enterprise organizations as well. So we have 350 plus team members growing very strongly locally as well as globally as well. We have recently started off Singapore operations, and we have a heavy offshore delivery center back in India as well. And when you look at the financial growth, that's 133% in the last 5 years. We're growing very strongly, both from an offerings perspective and from the financials perspective. Being the testing talks and being very focusing on the testing side, I thought like I'll specifically come back into the, I'm not sure like where the glitch is. The very core offerings into the next gen quality engineering, like we have traditional training services or traditional software testing services, but at the same time we have kind of like started off our journey, especially in the AI space. Kind of like when you start off with the cognitive functional assurances, we have very specific domain-based kind of a testing offering services, as well as the regular testing services as well. So when I say the domain-based, like we have a domain-based centric QE pods as well, where let's say for example we want to work in an insurance industry, we want to work in a banking industry, or we want to work in a retail industry. So we have a huge knowledge data sets built into those specific sites, and we have a knowledge framework built on the top of it, where we're catering the needs of testing needs. Either it can be a functional or non-functional spaces in these industries. As you're seeing, like automated accessibility testing is one of the other key areas where we are closely trying to enhance our frameworks based upon the WCAG guidelines, either it can be 2.1 or 2.2 or compliant. So we have those automated accessibility testing frameworks and the tools available to cater the needs of accessibility or the usability guidelines. Coming into the actual part of the main topic today, the orchestrating the LLMs and the model context protocol. There are multiple parts in this particular topic. Orchestration is the key, and LLMs and the model context protocols are all different building blocks. And today we'll be kind of like deep diving a little bit into how these building blocks work together, and then how the orchestration works on the top of it, so that we can build something meaningful and intelligent test automation. But before going into that, let's look at the problem statement. So I'd like to start off with where we are today, how we're doing the traditional test automation here. As you might have seen, there is a big gap of the manual testing as well as the automation testing. We have seen that test automation is primarily skill driven. It demands a bit of a coding skills. It demands more of a architectural skills, how you can modularize your framework. Are you writing reusable code? Are you writing clean code? So is it maintainable? So is it reusable? So there are a lot of design and development principles which has to go inside the framework, and hence there is a bit of a gap between the manual testing and the automation testing. And yet there are other challenges I have seen personally, is like context loss. Let's say product owner says something that gets translated to the BAs, and BAs can derive some information out of it that gets passed on to the technical teams. By the time the business teams get the requirements and translated them into the technical requirements, there might be a gap. So how can we bridge that gap? So that's one of the very core problems. Having that context built all the way from the beginning, from the business to the technical teams, and then build a solution or the product on the top will always be the key. Inconsistent test data are the other areas where, let's say, an application is heavy data driven. It demands data variety, it demands data volume. We can actually clone the production database, mask it, remove all the PII data, and use it back into the actual the downstream environments. But next what? How are you leveraging that data to build your scenarios on the top will always be a challenge. So you basically, we create the test data on the fly and use that in the scenarios is one style of doing it. The other style, you flip the coin and then say, oh, I have the data. Can you generate the scenarios out of it? is the other style of doing the test case design generation as well. Tooling complexities, I've been listening some talks this morning. We have seen a lot of tools in a particular organization. They're all working silos. They have their own challenges. Let's say I want to do API automation or API testing. We might be using Postman, or we might be using SOAP UI, or we might be using some other API testing tools. But let's say I want to do some automation. Again, we pick up another tool. So they're all kind of like not working hand in hand. They all work in a kind of like in their independent silos, but yet they're all trying to meet a specific testing objective out of this. One of the other biggest areas I have seen is the speed versus quality. When I say speed versus quality, at times, like maybe most of the times, we work under crunch schedules. Someone comes and say that, oh, guys, we need to push this build into the production. Or we have automation, but how much of automation is catering that particular need? So are we compromising on speed? Are we compromising on quality? Or how are you tying up these together will be the key. Limited test intelligence. So let's say I have a massive test suite of 1,000 test cases in place. We have automated all the 1,000 test cases. How many of us know that, oh, how does the coverage look like? Or let's say I'm a product owner, and then if I come, I want to see, are we sufficient enough from a test coverage perspective? Are we confident enough from a quality perspective that am I pushing the right build into the production? Or if I put a change in the production today, how well I am aware that it doesn't impact the other parts of the application. So there are kind of like few challenges in the traditional test automation, and this is where exactly we kind of like bringing the AI on the top. But I'm not saying, I just want to put a disclaimer before itself, we are not solving 100% of the problems, but yet there are high possibilities of achieving decent success by using or integrating AI into this testing space. We'll see how. But even before going into that, I thought like probably just to bring you along into the presentation, let's start with the basic definitions of a large language. What is LLM? As you already know, that's been going out in the world. Any page you open talks about the AI these days. I just want to put out a small question to the audience, like what is language here? In large language models, what is language? Machine language? Yeah? Anyone else? Neural network? Yeah? Oh, someone is asking Siri. Yes, that's good. Sorry? Communication? That's all kind of like put into the context. Like if I want to keep it in a very simple terms, language is the language you speak. So a human language which gets connected to an artificial intelligence-based model. So it's as simple as you're putting your prompt in a simple English. That's where we are connecting the natural human being to an artificial model. So how do you build that communication bridge is the language. So again, the LLM models are all kind of like trained on multiple artifacts. Again, say it can be a document, or it can be a text, or it can be a piece of code, or it can be a huge database itself. So it's been trained on these kind of like different artifacts, and then how they kind of like got pre-trained, and that's where it gets all the answers gets generated out of it. So that's GPT. So coming on to the model context protocol. So now you have model. So what is this MCP again? So you have a model. If you see, like there are 3 words in MCP: model, context, and protocol, right? So LLM, it has a very minimal context, I can say. Let's say I go to ChatGPT and ask, what is the answer so and so question, it just gives you some answer. But what if I put the same LLM model into an insurance industry and ask about specific questions about a policy? Will it give the specific answers? There is no relevancy. They might be up to some extent. That's why they're all kind of like probabilistic models. But when it comes to the MCP, it brings that context to your LLM. So how can you make your LLM work for a specific context? So that's the bridge, that's the glue. So which brings in the context to your LLM. So that's what, and there is a protocol. So it has to work as a contract with the LLM. So it has to specifically follow some protocols. and that's what MCP is. AI agents on the top is there are like task masters. Let's say I'm a test manager. I know how the test case need to be designed, who is a specialist in a particular area. Let's say I have a SME, I know what SME does. I have a functional tester, I know what a functional tester does. I have a performance tester, I know what it does. So they are like task masters. Agentic AI. AI agents, you flip the words, that became an agentic AI, but it has brought in a lot of different terminology, different understanding together. So the subtle difference between AI agents and agentic AI. AI agents are more of a task executioners, I can say, whereas agentic AI are the autonomous agents, or they can take decisions, so they can derive reasoning on what they are trying to do, and then they'll keep trying until that particular objective is met. Context management, that's one of the very key areas, especially in this AI journey. I can say having that context built throughout your user journey, all the way from your prompting and all the way you get a derived output, that context should be maintained. Without that, you won't get relevant results. Memory management. Let's say, for example, I'm a human being, I know I have to memorize a lot of things. Does the models follow the same rule? So if someone comes and asks me, in the last year of March, we pushed a build to the production and we have executed these so and so test cases, do we know what kind of an impact we have? How long it can memorize, how deep it can memorize. So the memory management is really important. Let's look at the short term, for example. Let's say I kind of like started creating a test case. So, and after a while, it starts hallucinating. So how long you can memorize, how long you can train your model to memorize, how long you can keep refreshing that memory to ensure that the context is actually carried out throughout your user journey will be the key. Now we have all this kind of terminology, AI agents, agentic AI, model context protocol. How does these actually put together? Like, can they work together and hand in hand? How do they collaborate each other to ensure that the entire user journey is seamless? That's where the orchestration comes. The simplest analogy I can put in is like, you have musicians in place, but each instrument has its own way of producing music. But how can they work in tandem? How can they work together to bring out a rhythm out of it is the orchestration. That's the power of orchestrator. So orchestrator actually tells these musicians when to go high, when to go low, when not to even produce music. So that's the power of orchestrator in simple terms. So here, orchestrator works with LLM models. It works with MCPs together so that the particular collaboration is in hand. So that's where it brings in, it manages your context, it manages your memory, it manages your intent as well throughout the journey. With all these things, kind of like when you look from an enterprise organization's perspective, like, we have these tools available, or we have these technology available, but looking at our kind of like 10,000 feet level from an enterprise perspective, what are all the different ways we can leverage these tools to actually cater the needs of a specific organization from an enterprise perspective is like, let's say, domain-aware test intelligence. So if an organization is using a specific insurance-based product, we might be creating a lot of tests on the top, like we're writing automated tests, writing domain-specific test cases and everything. But do we have that knowledge base available? Do we have that knowledge framework available on the top? So this is where the LLM sits on the top. The RAG comes into, we can train the RAG based upon the context we have, so that will get specialized on that particular insurance domain, and then you can work along with the LLM model. Complex system orchestration, as I was mentioning about, we have a lot of tools available in an organization. Either it can be like, it's a simple case of like for test management, if someone is using Jira. For testing, API testing, they might be using Postman. For defect management, again, they're using Jira. For test automation, they might be using a license-based tool or open source tool. But this is where it comes into, can you make sure that, can you bring them all together and then put an interface or put a something orchestrator on the top so that I can work with all these tools together. So that's where the orchestration comes into the picture. Scalable modular QA architecture. So what we are saying is basically that, let's say, again, I'm going back to the LLM model of, let's say, as simple as a ChatGPT. I go and ask the ChatGPT as a simple case of like, can you write a TypeScript code for a login scenario? It will write the code. You can copy paste, put it in IDE, it will work for you. But is the code maintainable? Is the code modular? Are we reusing that code? So how can you bring those pieces together to ensure that you build the modularity on the top will be the key. So we'll be talking about this. I will be showcasing something in that particular perspective today. And other artifacts like test design, yes, you can leverage the power of the AI in deriving the multiple scenarios. You can actually scale up your test design using the LLM models there. Self-healing, like it's very predominant these days. Every tool is self-healing enabled because there are a lot of application changes happening. Traditionally, that's one of the biggest challenges in the test automation is whenever there is a small ID change on the UI, the test automation breaks because it's very tightly coupled with the ID, so that's why it won't detect your latest application change, and hence there is a lot of test automation maintenance on the top. And that has been a very traditional problem. This is where the self-healing comes. LLM comes into the picture. It interacts with your DOM. It extracts the latest objects out of your DOM. It will try it out. If it works, it will update your code as well. So that's the power of AI. And we'll be showcasing something on that. Obviously, there are other areas like compliance, accessibility, and security agents. There are specific role-based agents. Let's say we want to build an AI agent for accessibility testing. Let's say my application has to be compliant against WCAG 2.2. This particular accessibility agent comes in. It looks into the WCAG 2.2 guidelines. It knows all the checklists it has to go through. It assesses your applications against these guidelines. It will spit out a report for you saying that, oh, this is 70% compliant. And these are all the 30% areas where the digital teams have to go back and fix. Multimodal interfaces, I think this will become a very key area, what multimodal interfaces for collaboration means. As a simple case of like, if I ask if there are any product owners here or the test managers here, how many of know that what's the coverage look like from a test automation perspective? They might be knowing some number, right? Let's say, oh, we have 100 test cases automated. But what do they look like? Can I get some insights, right? From a test manager perspective or even from a BA perspective. So that will be a game changer. Let's say we have some interface available to all these, an orchestration interface, which are all actually integrated with all your tools. And if a BA comes in and say, oh, I think I have written a user story here. Can I test this? So this will be the door opener for such kind of a collaboration. So we'll be showcasing something, what we have built. Before going to the demo, this is where we connect all these dots together. So when I say, let's say I'm an end user, I'm using prompt engineering as one of the key learnings here. I put a prompt. It works behind the curtains with your LLMs and the MCPs. Either it can be any LLM model, and it can be any MCP server. So it passes the intent to the orchestrator. The orchestrator will decide upon which particular agent it has to work with. So, and obviously on the top, we have a review agent ensuring that the orchestrator is doing the right thing. And we have evals and the guardrails on the top to ensure that are the LLMs behaving well, and are they actually following the policies and the guidelines. So there is a subtle difference between the evals and the guide. But that's, I think, most of us know, like this is how these things work. What is the beauty? Like, what does it spits out? So in the demo which I'm showcasing today is how many of you are automation testers here? Oh, that's quite a handful. How many are using page object design pattern here? That's quite a handful there. Yes, so this framework, what it basically does is, it spits out your page object model by using a simple prompt. So we'll be showcasing that in the demo. Just bear with me, guys. before I go into the starting of the next part of the demo, this is our test accelerator, which is actually built using the LLM models behind the curtains, which are all tied up to the MCPs. We are using Playwright MCP behind the curtains along with the Selenium MCPs as well. What we are going to do today is I'll try to take you through a simple workflow of creating a test. For example, we have a sample application where I'll be taking you through how easy, let's say I love using personas in the presentation. It's easy to understand. Let's say I'm a manual tester or even a business analyst, for example. I want to see how this particular test will be designed, right? This is where we have kind of like templatized the prompt so that the orchestrator knows the intent, it knows the context, and then it will work with the underlying agents. So the first case, what I'm trying to do is, let me create a test. Let's say that's the test name. That's a kind of description. So that's the prompt I'm doing. So let's say so when you try this prompt and the work is being done behind the curtains, I'll walk you through what's happening behind the curtains soon once it finishes. So what it basically does is it spits out your scenarios in Gherkin style. It will write on, so I haven't written anything here, so it will spit out your scenarios in the Gherkin style, and it will automate them for you in Playwright, and it will execute for you, and it will create a report for you. Right? So let's go back a little bit technical here behind the curtains of showing you what is happening behind. So if you see here, that's still the page object design pattern if you're seeing here. So yep, that's very small. What it has done is it has the context already built in. It has went into the feature files. It has clearly written all the scenarios for a particular landing page with all the different combinations. It has created a nice page object model for you with just a simple prompt. It has created everything for you. You don't have to work on anything. And it has created your step definitions as well. So with the simple prompt, the orchestrator was able to work with these individual agents behind the curtains, bring out the speed of productivity, the beauty of productivity in place to ensure it's getting automated from the very first place itself. So we are kind of like opening up not only to one particular persona in an organization. Any person who knows how to prompt specifically, anyone knows how to embrace the power of prompt engineering. So they should be able to put in enough intent context into the prompt, and the models are able to produce those meaningful tests for you. It's not about generating the test, it's about generating the meaningful test as well. So that's the power. So what I've done is, so since this particular prompt has created your feature files, your page objects, your step definitions, everything for you, probably like less than a minute, maybe. All right. So what I would like to emphasize here is there are two parts to it. I normally, when we are trying to integrate the AI into the testing space, look at the possibility of increasing the productivity. So as a tester, many people have been asking us like, oh, do we become redundant? If this is the power of the AI, do we become redundant? No, I don't think so, because this is actually powering us. It is actually increasing the productivity. Rather than focusing on designing your automated tests, you shift the focus from designing to actually making it more even covered. Like you go back, look at the scenarios it has written for you, see where the gaps are. You go back to the model, tell that, oh, I see a gap here. We need to fill that gap. And that's the human in the loop. That's not going away. So that's the kind of the cognitive knowledge is the IP to us. So that's where the power of working human in the loop, working along with the LLM models will play a beautiful role, and that might be a very good career to embrace, I can say. So now, since we have created the test, let's try to execute this test and then see how it looks like. Again, with a simple prompt, and how this accelerator has been built is we have used the power of tagging. So whenever this test gets created, it tags your test as well. So I can simply execute a specific test using a tag. So now I have created a landing page as the test name. I use the same tag. I just put in to run me the specific test. So it's a bit fast here, but I'll be showing what it spits out. It has written all your 7 scenarios what you have seen here. It kind of like executed, and it's a bit of ambiguous as well, where it is not sure that, I'm kind of like not sure. So this is where exactly I was talking about. The human in the loop comes in to look at what it is writing and then work along with LLM models to increase your speed. So let's say another story of I have a massive test suite available. Can I run all the tests again using a prompt? Yes, definitely. Let's say it in action. Let's say I run all the tests. So few tests are fast, few tests are time taking. This particular test is it has written the SQL injection test for me. I didn't ask it, it has written the SQL injection test as part of the functional test itself. It spits out a nice report for me. Out of all the things it has done, it has kind of like spitted out a nice report so that you can visit, go back, fine-tune your model again to work along with the other scenarios it has generated. So for kind of like a test managers, or you want to see on a build basis how my tests are getting matured, how the build is getting matured. Am I confident enough to push this build into a UAT, for example, right? This is where the analytics dashboard comes into the picture. It will compare your last 3 builds, give you some test insights on telling about, the last build was a bit of a not on the track. It didn't pass through a few of the tests. So and this is the build which it has passed. So some kind of insights, especially for the test managers, to derive the confidence metrics on how you're going from an overall quality perspective. So coming back to the presentation again. I hope it doesn't dance. Yep. So with all these building blocks which have gotten all the way from creating your test, running specifically a particular tag, or running the massive test with just a simple prompt, I see there is a massive possibility of embracing or integrating this into your existing frameworks. So the key, if someone asks me what is the differentiator of your accelerator, so you don't keep your frameworks. You have invested a lot of money, you have invested a lot of time into your building your frameworks. You keep your frameworks. It comes and sits on the top. It opens up the doors to product owners, to test managers, to BAs, yet interact with all these test scripts behind the curtains, and then bring the AI layer on the top. So that's the power of this accelerator. So there are a few evals and the guardrails which actually kind of like protectors, I can say, making sure that the LLMs are doing the right thing and ensuring the guardrails are protected from policies or from LLMs do go rogue sometimes. So the guardrails help them to get the focus back into the track and ensure that they're all kind of like working along with the guardrails frameworks. So So for all the way from the traditional automation to kind of like AI assisted or AI enabled kind of an automation journey, what I've seen is like from a traditional automation perspective, yes, we do manual scripting at times. We liaise with the manual testers to derive the scenarios, or manual testers are now kind of like educated enough to write the Gherkin code for us. So automation testers can leverage them to start hooking up the automation on the top. So it's structured, versioned test generation. Test data management. I'll go back to my demo of showcasing one more capability of this framework is to spit out the data during the runtime. If you see here, this particular file, I haven't generated anything. So this test data agent generates the data for you based upon the scenario. Again, when you put human in the loop into the situation, this is where you need to come back, update with all the relevant data into it, and the LLM model will take care of reading this particular updated data into your test scripts again. So they're all kind of like, if that's one of the reasons I've been asking how many are embracing this page object design pattern. We haven't moved away. So you keep your frameworks with you. So it just sits on the top. It opens up the doors for multiple stakeholders who are all interested all the way from the test design to the test execution generation journey itself. Yep, coming back to the code maintenance, yes, as you have seen, it's modular. Each block of the code sits in their respective directories or the folder structures. They're kind of like reused methods available. The agents are so intelligent that whenever it sees, this is a kind of a regular method I'm trying to generate, it picks up the code, puts it into a reusable method. So they're all very smart and making sure that the modular coding is developed. Execution flow, you have seen that it's orchestrated across the agents. When I created the first test from scratch, so it has worked up with all the different agents, underlying agents, all the way from the designing to your scripting and to your data agents and the execution agents. For the second time, when I use my run a specific tag or run all of the whole of the test suites, the orchestrator knows that I don't have to design my tests. All I have to do is just execute those tests. So that's where the power of the orchestrator comes. It takes in the prompt as an input. It knows what it has to do, which particular agent it has to invoke. It will invoke and then make sure that all the tasks assigned to that particular agent are executed. And that's the orchestration. Scalability, yes, parallel scalable via agents. Bring in another agent, just integrate into your workflow. It will work seamlessly. Traceability, tagging is one of the very specific things we have used. You tag your Jira story. You can tell the agent to tag your Jira story to it. So all the way from the user story to your automated tests are tagged. Self-healing. This is one of the capabilities within the framework where when page object model or the page objects are designed, the self-healing gets integrated into the page objects itself. So next time if something changes on your application, it tries the first time. If it fails, it understands your application changes, goes back, works with your page object model, and then updates them for you. Feedback loop. Imagine a BA is writing a user story. He doesn't have to wait until the tester comes back and saying that there is a bug. Imagine he's identifying the bug right from the beginning itself, right? Or a product owner just want to sit back and then see how does my product looks like, right? So he can see it in action rather than looking at a report. Yep. So with all this, from an organization perspective, or even from the team's perspective, where to start? I think there are so many things outside there. It's overwhelming at this point of time. But where do we start? I think we all can take some baby steps. That's what we have been embracing. That's where our research and development that we are taking as baby steps. We are kind of like identifying a specific use cases, leverage your LLM models, see where we are going, put a pilot on the top, come back, you build your own building blocks and enable the LLM ops. This is where your designing and your operations are bringing together. See what we have designed, see how it is working in real time, go back and then make sure that it's scalable or pick up another use case. And then keep monitoring and control under the check to ensure we're building the right thing in the meaningful way. Things to consider are the disclaimers. So yes, as I was been mentioning, there are few challenges. You have seen that in action is like the ambiguity, right? It's not sure about it, right? That's where it is flagging for you. And that's where the context management complexity comes into it. It's really important to learn what context management complexity is. Like we are living in a world of using English as a language to develop applications. So never thought of like, but it's happening, right? That's where the prompt engineering comes into the picture. English is the new technology these days, right? So coordination is really important. So it's not about building an agent. It's not about having the agents in place to execute specific tasks. It's about bringing them together, enable the collaboration, and then derive the meaningful output out of them. Scalability and performance, yes, obviously. So there is a lot of computing under the hood. So we have to put in the cost there. But there are a lot of economical considerations, a lot of optimizations in place to ensure that we are not going over the board. Robustness and reliability, as I said, yes, it's a continuous learning mechanism even for the models. Security and data privacy, that's a big gray area. I can say that's a big area where everyone is closely looking into how secure my data is. I'm opening up my application to an LLM model, how secure it is. Ethical and governance challenges, kind of like trying to adhere to the government policies and stuff. Yep, as you have seen, this from the Gartner. If you see where are we today from a world adaptation perspective in the AI journeys, if you see this increase in the productivity is the top. As you have seen, like with just a simple prompt, within less than a minute, it has created all of your feature files. It has automated for you. It has executed for you with just a simple prompt. This is where the productivity is going. So that's one of the major applications of like not solving a problem, but about working along with the LLM models to ensure that our productivity gets increased and shift our focus all the way from developing or designing to actually bringing the knowledge or the cognitive IP into the entire product development itself. Autonomous test lifecycle management is again kind of like working as a complete SDLC, or I have executed my tests. How do I know that there are application challenges? So integrate your LLMs into your continuous integration pipelines. It knows what is being committed. It understands the application changes. It goes back, work backwards, saying that, oh, I see these are all the things changed. And it can map to your test, or these are all the tests which I think should be triggered first. So it works intelligently for you to ensure that feedback is actually given at the first hand possible, and that's what I believe is the pure shift left mechanism. Continuous contextual intelligence, that's where the MCPs comes into the picture, and federated agent ecosystems are kind of like very specialized domain-aware, context-aware statements. With this, I kind of like try to put everything under the hood into one package and then see where we are going. From an adapting perspective, we have embraced these technologies under the hood. We have been developing AI-based and AI-assisted solutions, especially to build the agentic QE agents, kind of like developing the predictive defect detection mechanisms, which can seamlessly integrate into your software testing lifecycle, automated test generation, which you have seen today, along with the AI self-healing, and the intelligent object recognition as well. So with this, I'll wrap it up. As a tester, we're not going anywhere. We are kind of like getting empowered with the assistance of the AI. We kind of like keeping ourselves in the human in the loop, which the main intent of is to increase our productivity and ensure that we bake the quality right from the beginning itself. So it's opening new doors for everyone, and I hope the journey will be more exciting going forward. With this, thank you so much. I'm happy to take questions.
Hello. Oh, I don't know if you can hear me. We've got a prize to draw out as well.
All right.
Where did they go?
Oh, there.
So we've got one of the.
Okay.
So feel free to ask a question to the audience.
Okay.
Put it out there, like about your presentation.
Okay.
The person that you think they're going to answer, they answer. they get $150.
Okay. Okay, yes, I kind of like, this is a bit of a surprise for me as well. Let me ask one question. What is the name of the accelerator we have shown today? Yes.